Here we are again, less than 90 days later. Another attempted assassination. Ryan Routh stalked the Trump campaign for over 12 hours the night before the shooting. And unlike Thomas Crooks, he left behind an extensive history. With over 100 police reports over the span of 2 decades, we examine the life of a well-documented man. Ryan Routh is a man who seemed to have everything going for him. A 58-year-old man with children and a job. Being self-employed and a self-described entrepreneur. How can a man who seemed to dedicate himself to social work fall out of the public race like this? Today we go over his massive history with the media and how he played his role in the attempted assassination on Donald Trump. As always, please subscribe if you find this informative. This is Ryan Wesley Routh. He was born February 18th, 1966. The middle child of an athlete and a beauty star, he had immense pressure on his hands. Due to his parents' semi-celebrity status in their town, it seems his entire childhood was documented for the public to see. Marjorie Patton, or just Pat, Fearing, was always a beauty queen growing up. She had won many contests and was published in the paper multiple times. Her then boyfriend was also published in the paper multiple times, but not for his good looks. It was because he liked to go fast in cars. He was a dangerous, reckless driver, though he would often only get a slap on the wrist because he was the hometown football hero. The pair would marry in 1963 and shortly after have their first child. The couple would go on to have 3 children, Ryan being in the middle. To say that Ryan enjoyed the limelight would be an understatement. Ryan was in various clubs, including the tennis club, the computer club, the science club, the math club. It's all very reminiscent to Thomas Crooks. However, unlike Crooks, Ryan is praised for being extremely athletic. Over 120 articles popped up whenever I was researching his childhood. He excelled in tennis and was often in the newspaper for all of his sports activity. Overall, Ryan seemed normal. He would then graduate and marry in 1989. From this marriage, he would have a son and a daughter. He often subjected them to the limelight as well, putting them in advertisements for his construction company. He was often in the paper advertising his renovated houses. So how did we get here? How did we go from athlete to house renovator? In 1991, the newspaper fell in love with him all over again. In August of 1991, he would be documented tackling a man who was suspected of raping a person. He was sensationalized all over the news in Greensboro, North Carolina. By the end of that year, his picture was weirdly being placed wherever they could fit him. Here he is between 2 terror reports, casually talking about a summer breeze. His opinions mattered like celebrities such as Martha Stewart. His opinion pieces would be numerous. Between 1991 and the early 2000s, the newspaper was his main form of communication. Though the newspaper wouldn't hesitate to write about him and his business, they also wouldn't hesitate to write about him and his downfall, including his crimes. In December of 2002, an officer would spot him without a license. Ryan was stopped initially and grabbed a gun and then headed towards his place of business. He would then barricade himself for several hours. This would mark his downfall. The very newspaper that uplifted him would then go on to post about his divorce. Though much is not found in the public paper, we were able to do a deep dive on Ryan Routh. We saw misdemeanor convictions including hit and runs, resisting arrest, and concealed weapons violations. He also allegedly kept stolen property. 2004 saw the beginning of a decade-long battle. Ryan wanted to build his teenage son and his friends a skate park. However, it was made completely out of wood and secured by barbed wire. Ryan claims that a person on the zoning board said that he would turn a blind eye to the unpermitted skate park. However, whenever a neighbor complained, it was quickly shut down. Ryan would write to the local newspaper for over a decade to get the park back up and going. By 2007, Ryan began alleging that the town was against him. He believed that there were stocks and bonds involved and that the town owed him $600,000, but that was incorrect. By 2011, he was invested in politics. He was clearly enamored by the paper. It would only get worse whenever he would discover Twitter. Here, in an echo chamber, he can say whatever he wants, whenever he wants, at any time of day, to hundreds of thousands of people, so much more than the newspaper could have ever supplied. Though his account has already been suspended, we do have archives, and it gets pretty wild. These are years' worth of the ramblings of a mentally unwell man. He tends to exhibit bipolar tendencies in his thought processes. He would often flip back and forth between Democrat and Republican. He seemed not to be able to keep a straight set of what he wanted out of politicians. He also thoroughly believed that he was in a place to be able to ask important figures important questions. At times, it seems as though Ryan is trying to directly contact them through Twitter, genuinely believing that he can talk to them. Ryan exhibits a form of narcissism by the way that he believes that he can make anybody do what he wants at that very moment. The fact that he has asked this to multiple musicians is honestly absurd. And when the war in Ukraine broke out, his delusion got even deeper. He believed that he was actually in the war, that he had a position in the war. He contacted several international volunteer groups to try and volunteer his time. He was turned away each time due to the fact that he had no military experience. One female soldier would complain about his sexism and random off-topic conversations about sexuality.
Tell me who you are and why are you here?
56 from the U.S., from North Carolina originally, so I live in Hawaii now, so flew all the way from Hawaii here. So the question as far as why I'm here, to me, a lot of the other conflicts are gray, but this conflict is definitely black and white. This is about good versus evil. This is a storybook, any movie we've ever watched, this is definitely evil against good. I mean, we're battling a situation here where the Ukrainians and the rest of the world are caring and kind and generous and unselfish and take care of one another, and it's just a matter of, we need to stand up for that. That is the most important thing in the world, is just to show human beings that we're kind and we're caring and that we take care of one another and that the world is united so that we feed each other and make sure that, we all move forward as one collective whole unit. So, we feel the pain of one country's failure and their conflicts, and we enjoy the successes of other countries that are doing good, and we all work together. And for some reason, Russia does not grasp this concept that we're all one unit, and we have to get along and work together and be normal human beings. This is 2022. We have to work together. It seems asinine that we have a leader in a country that does not understand the concept of being unselfish and being generous and being kind and just the basic moral values that are required by human beings these days. It blows my mind.
Despite everything, Ryan would make it to Kiev. What his exact role there is unclear. We do know that he was spotted in several countries over the year.
Ukrainians have a right to fight back.
I don't do paper, though.
I don't care if you do paper or not. I'm looking for revolutionaries. A number of people want to take this whole system down.
Bro, I'm a veteran. Like, do you need me?
What kind of veteran are you?
Bro, I served in Nuketown.
Well, I think it's better to serve and fight in the powers, fucking over the system.
Bro, give me a Glock and a Hellcat.
Take a look at this.
Bro, but I don't do paper, though. I just told
Come
you
on,
that.
dude, then get away. We don't need people who aren't serious. If you're not serious,
I'm serious, but I don't do paper, bro. You're literally killing the environment.
We're moving on. You go ahead, have your lunch.
No, bro, I'm going to class.
Go to
I'm a
class,
scholar.
then. Go to class.
One savvy nurse in Kiev did notice his strange behavior and alerted the FBI. Allegedly, nothing was done.
Who flagged Routh to the feds after meeting him in Ukraine. And she joins us now. Chelsea, what about Routh struck you?
He had very bizarre and volatile tendencies. As a nurse, I'm a mandated reporter, and we are also trained to determine when someone is a threat to themselves or others. I determined after knowing Ryan for a while that he was a threat to others. So I felt that it was necessary that he be reported to the proper authorities.
And you reported this to the federal government. And what happened next?
I haven't heard anything. I have had no correspondence. Nobody had tried to connect with me until today.
Okay. Has someone from which agency specifically connected with you now?
A agency has connected with me. I don't want to say which one, but someone has connected with me.
Okay. In your conversations and observations of Routh, what were the things that he was saying he was operating in?
Ryan got involved with the humanitarian side as well as the military side. He got involved with things that he shouldn't have been involved with. He was able to con members in the Ukrainian military. He was able to con charities. He was a good con artist. He was calculated, but he was also very volatile and sporadic. He got into just about everything: drones, weapons, humanitarian aid. He got involved in things he shouldn't have been involved with because he didn't have a background in any of this.
How was he able to con the Ukrainian military?
That you'll have to ask him.
Okay, I will. And tell me about your meeting with him when you said you felt he was a danger. Did you feel like you were in danger?
Yes, it got to a point where I ended up leaving Ukraine early on my first visit there because of Ryan, and I felt that I was in danger after a conversation that I had with him that I don't really want to go into right now. But he was one of the reasons I left Ukraine, because I felt that I was in jeopardy by staying there and he was around.
Did he ever talk about assassinations?
All the time. He wanted to kill most world leaders. I don't remember. It's been over 2 years since I was with him, but I definitely remember he always talked about wanting to kill Putin, Kim Jong-un. He developed plans. He talked about Biden and Trump, but I can't remember. It's been over 2 years since I heard those conversations. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he did speak frequently about harming world leaders.
All right. Well, we're glad that you reported this, and we're glad finally there's been some follow-up. Chelsea, thank you so much.
For some reason, CNN is blocking us from recording the audio, but this is a great little snippet into Ryan Routh's world. Thomas Gibson Neff described Ryan Routh as a drifter and the fact that he was living off of measly dollars a day. However, somebody did find this flyer that was tied directly to Ryan Routh. He was apparently charging $3,000 to join his brigade. Allegedly feeling snubbed by the war efforts in Ukraine, he decided to come back home and write a book about his experience. It's here where he continues to lament his hatred for Trump, calling him a buffoon and a retard. In this book, he laments the rights to be able to execute whoever he deems needing to be executed. He believes America has fallen to unnatural selection, and he must do the same. It was 2018 whenever Ryan Routh decided to move to Hawaii and start a business called Camp Box with his son. Upon returning from Ukraine, it seems as though his delusions of grandeur were no different. He claims that this is an initiative to help the homeless, but not only can these cost upwards to $13,000, he only gives you the bare bones of it. Just because he's a business owner does not mean that his complaints would cease. It would be on his business website where he would out his dirty laundry about his opinions. He was known for doing a cheap job and for doing it at the lowest cost possible, even at expense to materials. He was known for leaving nails behind for people to step on and refuse to do any form of cleanup. The complaints were numerous on his website. However, just like we saw with the Thomas Crooks case, we saw deletion of online activity in real time and were not able to snag a lot of screenshots. Though he let his business license expire, he was operational until earlier this year. There was no reason for Ryan to be there that day. According to the data extracted from his car, he was at the golf course for 12 hours straight.
All of a sudden we heard shots being fired in the air, and I guess probably 4 or 5. And it sounded like bullets, but what do I know about that? But Secret Service knew immediately it was bullets. And they grabbed me, and I think probably the other one, Steve is one of the people, Steve Witkoff, a great friend of mine, a great businessman from mostly New York and Florida, great businessman, and more importantly, just a fantastic person. So we're in the group, and everybody we got into the carts, and we moved along pretty good. I was with an agent, and the agent did a fantastic job. There was no question that we were off that course. I would have loved to have sank that last putt, but we decided, well, let's get out of here. And what the gunfire was actually, interestingly, was a Secret Service agent had seen a barrel of a AK-47, which is a very powerful rifle, and he started shooting at the barrel, in the bushes.
Wow.
Could only see the barrel. How good is that, right? But could only see the barrel. Based on that, he started shooting and ran toward the target and was shooting a lot of, those were the shots we heard. The other one never got a shot off. And he ran across the street and grabbed his car, hopped into his truck or car. And amazingly, a civilian in that area saw something and it looked very suspicious. And in the car, drove their car to the back of his truck of some kind and took pictures of the license plate, gave them to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Bradshaw is fantastic, very great sheriff for a long time. And within a fairly short period of time, they tracked him down on the highway. It was a pretty high-speed chase. And they ended up getting him. They got him. Because you wouldn't want to have somebody like that out there.
No.
He dropped his gun, the AK-47. He left his gun. He left cameras behind, left a lot of things behind. So the agent did a fantastic job. The civilian did a phenomenal job. A woman. I mean, who would think you could take 1,000 times like that? How many people would have the brain power to follow him and
Not
take
many.
pictures of the back of his truck so that they end up getting, and the key was the license. So they got the license, and after they had the license, there's all sorts of technology where they can literally pinpoint where this truck is. I never knew something like that existed. And they pinpointed him on the highway. They got him with a high-speed chase. So they got him. It was amazing. So Secret Service did a great job. And I think I can say honestly, the sheriff's office, law enforcement, everybody really did a great job.
This could have easily been another Butler, Pennsylvania. Thanks to the quick thinking of the agent and the quick thinking of the woman who took the picture of the license plate, we had a quick and easy arrest within 20 minutes.
Take 2 steps to your right! Driver! Walk straight back! Yep. You want to go with Keep walking!
What's your name, boss? Ryan?
His house has since been raided by federal officials. His children, who are also felons, have come out in support of him. As always, this is an ongoing investigation, and more will come out. Thank you for watching this documentary.